Have you ever seen an animal change the course of a life with a single act? In the vast African savanna, where the sun scorches the earth and the wind carries ancient secrets, an unbelievable story unfolded. A strong, wise gorilla and a fragile, lost lion cub crossed paths in a way no one could have predicted. And the most astonishing part? Years later, something even more surprising came to light, leaving even the toughest hearts speechless. Picture this. Heat rises in waves from the ground. The air smells of dry dust, and at the top of a gnarled acacia tree, a gorilla watches everything with eyes that seem to hold the world's history. He's not just an animal, it's almost like he feels the pulse of nature. But that day, something shattered the calm. A cry pierced the silence, a desperate roar that made even the wind pause. What was happening? How could one moment bring together such different species in a bond of compassion? If you love stories that mix courage, empathy, and a touch of mystery, give this a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. Because trust me, this story will make you feel the savannah in your bones. And just when you think you've seen it all, well, let's just say the universe had other plans. Ready to dive into this rescue that defies logic? Come along, because what happened at that well will stay with you for a long time. High up in a twisted acacia, where the branches seemed to cradle the sky, an old sturdy gorilla rested. The sun gilded his silver fur, and the warm scent of dry grass wafted up, mingling with the distant hum of bees. He wasn't just any gorilla. They called him Kibo, a name the rangers whispered with respect. His deep, thoughtful eyes scanned the savannah like someone reading an ancient book. Ever felt like an animal sees beyond what we do? Kibo seemed to carry that wisdom, as if every wrinkle on his face told a tale of survival. Down below, life thrived. Elephants marched in a line, their steps echoing like soft drums on the hard earth. Giraffes stretched their necks to nibble leaves, while zebras raced, streaking the horizon with frantic stripes. Kibo watched it all, still, almost like a guardian. The well at the heart of the savannah, with its worn stone edges, was the center of this place. Every day, animals gathered there, in a silent truce, but that morning something felt off. The air was heavy, like the universe was holding its breath. Kibo tilted his head. A sharp, faint sound broke the calm, a weak but urgent mew. His eyes locked on the well. Do you believe nature sometimes sends a sign? Because in that moment, Kibo seemed to know something was wrong. He stood, muscles tense, and began descending the tree, each move precise but hurried. Close your eyes for a second and picture the whole savannah silent, waiting for Kibo's next step. The sun scorched the savannah, and the well with its smooth, hot stones gleamed like a mirror in the light. A lion cub with fluffy fur and clumsy paws approached curiously. He was the runt of the litter, always chasing his bigger sisters, his bright eyes full of courage or maybe just stubbornness. The sound of water dripping deep in the well was like a lullaby, drawing him closer. Who hasn't seen a little creature like that, all awkward but thinking it can conquer the world? The lionesses, lounging in the shade of a rock, kept watch over their cubs. But that cub, he had a knack for slipping out of sight. He stretched his neck trying to reach the water, his tiny paws slipping on the edge. And then, in the blink of an eye, disaster struck. A sharp squeal echoed as he lost his balance and fell, the sound of his impact muffled by the shallow water below. Can you imagine the shock? The well wasn't deep, but for a cub so small it was a stone prison. Up above, the lionesses leaped to their feet, their anguished roars tearing through the air. The cub's mother raced to the edge, her claws scraping the stones in desperation. The smell of damp earth rose from the well, mixed with the panic sweeping the savannah. The cub whimpered, his little paws splashing in the cold water, trying and failing to climb the slick walls. Ever felt that tightness in your chest seeing a helpless creature? The lionesses felt it 1,000 times stronger. Pause for a moment and feel the racing heart of that mother lioness staring into the well. If you're as hooked on this story as I am, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Because let me tell you, what happened after this was something no one could have seen coming. The cub's trapped cry echoed like thunder, and the savanna, once so calm, seemed to hold its breath. The lioness's anguished roars cut through the hot air, carrying a desperation that even the stones seemed to feel. The smell of dry dust rose as they circled the well, their tails whipping the air. Down below, the cub mewed, his voice growing weaker, as if the cold water was stealing his strength. Ever heard a sound that made you want to run and help without thinking? Far off, a male lion with a mane so dark it seemed to swallow. The light lifted his head. He'd been resting under a tree, but the roars snapped him awake like an alarm. His yellow eyes gleamed, and he took off, each step shaking the earth with the deep thud of his muscles. Meanwhile, on the other side of the savanna, a ranger named Juma caught the commotion over his radio. His water truck's engine roared, kicking up a cloud of sand, and the smell of diesel mingled with the wind. Juma knew every second counted. And Kibo, the gorilla descending the acacia with the agility of someone who knows every branch, felt the call too. His wise eyes now shone with urgency. Do you believe nature sometimes brings everyone together? For a single purpose? Because in that moment it felt like the whole savanna was conspiring to save that cub. Zebras stopped running, elephants raised their trunks, and even the sky seemed quieter, as if the universe was watching. Take a deep breath and picture the entire savanna in motion, racing against time. The well was thick with tension, the lionesses roaring and the cub whimpering below. The air carried the damp smell of moss clinging to the stones, mixed with the heat rising from the ground. Kibo, the gorilla, arrived like an imposing shadow, his strong arms swinging as he approached. His eyes, so calm before, now burned with a determination that seemed to defy nature itself. Ever seen an animal act like it knew exactly what to do? Because Kibo, in that moment, was all instinct and heart. He climbed a crooked tree growing near the well, each move precise like he'd rehearsed it for years. The sound of branches creaking under his weight echoed, blending with the cub's moans. Hanging from a branch above the well, Kibo looked down. The cub, soaked and shivering, raised his eyes, and for a second it seemed they understood each other. With a gentleness no one would expect from such a massive creature, Kibo reached down, his thick fingers grasping the cub by the scruff, like a lioness would. Can you believe in empathy like that? The lionesses, still on edge, stopped roaring. It was as if they knew Kibo wasn't a threat. He pulled the cub up carefully, the little wet body sliding against the stones. When he finally brought him to the edge, silence blanketed the savanna. Kibo held the cub to his chest for a moment, as if shielding him from the world. Who would have thought a gorilla and a lion could share such a pure moment? Close your eyes and feel the relief of that instant, with the cub safe in Kibo's arms. If this scene's tugging at your heart, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Because this story's got more surprises in store. The sun was dipping low, painting the savanna orange, while the wind carried the fresh scent of distant leaves. Kibo, still holding the lion cub to his chest, stood at the well's edge, surrounded by lionesses watching with wary eyes. Their roars had stopped, but tension hung in the air, like a taut rope about to snap. The cub, shivering and soaked, let out soft mews, and Kibo, with an almost otherworldly calm, seemed to know the next step was critical. Ever felt like one moment could change everything? Because right there in that exchange of glances, nature seemed to hold its breath. Then the rumble of Juma's water truck, the ranger, broke the silence. The sound of tires crunching dry earth made the lionesses turn, alert. Juma stepped out. His dusty hat tilted, and his eyes widened at the sight of Kibo with the cub. Man, what's this scene? He muttered, barely believing it. He'd seen Kibo from afar, but never imagined the gorilla would be part of a rescue like this. With slow steps, Juma approached, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. Kibo, as if reading Juma's soul, stepped forward. With a gentleness that defied his size, he handed over the cub, who mewed softly. Juma took the little lion carefully, feeling the warmth of the wet body in his hands. The lionesses watched, still, as if approving the silent pact between man and gorilla. For a moment, it was like the savannah was celebrating this unlikely teamwork. Who'd have thought such different beings could come together for something greater? Pause for a second and picture that exchange. A gorilla, a man, and a cub, united by one purpose. If this story's got you emotional, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to catch the ending. Because what came next was pure heart. Twilight painted the sky in purples and golds, and the savannah seemed to hold a sacred silence. The air carried the sweet scent of wildflowers, mixed with the warmth still rising from the earth. Juma, with the lion cub nestled in his arms, walked slowly toward the lionesses. The little one, now calmer, let out soft mews, as if sensing the worst was over. The lionesses, their eyes gleaming in the fading light, pricked their ears, every muscle tense, with anticipation. Ever seen a reunion that made your heart race? Because right there, in that moment, a mother's love spoke louder than any roar. The cub's mother stepped forward, her nose quivering as she sniffed the air. Juma knelt carefully, setting the cub on the ground. The little one wobbled. His tiny paws still weak, but ran straight to his mother, who enveloped him with a warm, lingering lick. The sound of their deep, rumbling purrs filled the air, like a song of relief. The other lionesses drew closer, forming a protective circle, their tails swaying gently. It was as if the whole savannah was celebrating, and even the wind seemed to blow lighter. Kibo, watching from a distance, was already heading back to his acacia. His steps were slow, almost solemn, and he didn't look back, as if he knew his part was done. Juma, still kneeling, smiled and murmured, "Thanks, buddy." Meanwhile, the ranger filled the well with water from the truck, the sound of the stream echoing in the stillness. Do you believe nature sometimes says thank you in silence? Because that night, it felt like the savannah glowed with gratitude. Close your eyes and feel the warmth of that embrace between the mother lioness and her cub. If this story's warming your heart, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to catch the finale. Because what it all means will make you think. Night had fallen over the savannah, and the sky was a tapestry of stars, so bright it seemed to pulse with life. The air now carried the coolness of damp earth, refreshed by the water Juma left in the well. The lionesses, still gathered around the cub, licked him gently, their purrs echoing like a hymn of gratitude. High up in the acacia, Kibo sat again, his eyes fixed on the horizon, as if reflecting on what had happened. Ever felt like a simple story could carry a meaning that changes everything? Because that day in the savannah wasn't just a rescue, it was a reminder of what life can be. Word of what Kibo did spread among the rangers, and soon the story traveled, like the sound of drums carried by the wind. A gorilla saving a lion? It was more than an act of courage. It was a symbol of compassion across species, proof that even natural enemies can unite for something bigger. Juma, back at the outpost, wrote in his journal, "Today I saw nature teach what solidarity means." And years later they say that cub grew into a strong lion, but with an unusual calm, as if he carried Kibo's memory. This story makes us stop and think, what if we learned from the savannah? What if, like Kibo, Juma, and the lionesses, we put empathy first? The savannah, with its delicate balance, shows us that survival isn't just strength, it's heart. Almost feels like the universe wanted to send us that message, doesn't it? So if this story touched you, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to catch more lessons like this. Take a deep breath and feel the weight of this lesson, as if the savannah were whispering to you. And so, under a starry sky, the savannah returned to its calm, but with a story that would echo for years. Kibo, the wise gorilla, and the lion cub, so small and brave, showed us that compassion knows no boundaries, not of species nor of strength. Sometimes the greatest teachers don't speak, they act, with a look that sees the soul or a gesture that changes everything. Who hasn't felt like an animal can see what we try to hide? This story is an invitation to look around with more heart. In the rush of daily life, how often do we forget to stop and help, to lend a hand or a paw? The savannah teaches us that life is a cycle of care, where every act of kindness comes back, like the wind carrying the scent of rain. The most incredible part? Years later, they say that cub, now grown, was seen protecting a group of smaller animals, as if Kaibo had planted a seed of solidarity. If this story warmed your heart, the next video YouTube suggests will move you. Even more, don't miss it. And hey, we want to know, have you ever had an animal that changed your life? Share it in the comments because these stories remind us what really matters. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and join us on this journey of lessons only nature can teach. Until next time.